And let me start before we go into kind of the drone part of it. We talked a little bit yesterday about inspections of homes when it comes to home insurance. Not necessarily a new thing. I will
Right.
say though that some of the people that are this came up in a next door post, and a
Sure.
lot of people when they got some of these letters, two in particular we spoke with, they've been customers with Nationwide for 30 plus years, had never had anything like this come through before, never gotten a letter saying fix this or you're at risk of losing coverage. But kind of is this something that's happening more often, this assessment and valuation of homes and their condition?
As insurers incur more losses, particularly from severe weather events, the underwriting scrutiny is being increased, meaning more inspections in general are taking place than in the past.
So not new, just the frequency maybe is changing.
Clearly, yeah, I'll give you kind of the national trend. According to an analysis by the Insurance Information Institute, we're seeing an uptick in more home inspections than prior years because risk have increased. Last year alone, we had $28 billion weather and climate disaster events in the US. That means losses exceeding $1 billion for each of those. And a subset of that was 63 billion in severe convective storm losses. Those are your severe thunderstorms that cause tornadoes, hail, straight line wind damage, also a record for a single year. So events are getting more expensive. And one of the factors driving the increase in cost of these losses is more people living in harm's way than ever before. We're seeing more people live in coastal communities. The largest growing states in the US are all along either the Atlantic coast or the Gulf Coast. So as a result, insurers are scrutinizing properties more than they typically did in the past, meaning they have increased their underwriting standards. And part of that process is to do more comprehensive inspections that have been done in the past.
And we've kind of caught wind that some of those more comprehensive inspections are going to include drones surveying. Tell me a little bit about that process, what that looks like.
Let me back up just a little bit. Aerial technology for home inspections or claim losses has been very prevalent for many years in the industry. In fact, insurers have used drones, particularly for disaster response, quick disaster response, when areas are hit by tornadoes, hurricanes, or wildfires. Drone technology helps the claims process move along much quicker than it typically would have in the past. So drone technology is not new to the insurance industry. However, now more insurers are using drone technology for home inspections. Why? Because the aerial inspection is highly sophisticated. It gathers much more data than what would be done by a traditional home inspection, meaning you send out a individual person to your home to inspect it, and it collects data and it gives insurers much more detail to work with in their underwriting assessments of properties. And the other couple other things I just want to mention too is it's a safer approach than sending someone out to your home, because many times home inspections would include literally somebody climbing on your roof, not very safe. And it also captures more data than the typical standard home inspection. So it's a much more detailed report that underwriters could work with when making their assessments of properties.
When people get these reports and they may be a little bit surprised, as we mentioned, with more of these inspections happening, is there anything you can take back to your insurance company and say, "Hey, I don't agree with this. This roof is only 5, 6 years old. You're saying it needs repair. That we just don't have the money to do this." What can you do to kind of find a happy median here?
Most insurance companies will typically provide the policyholder with a report that shows they appear to have some issues with the property, whether it's the roof or it could be other issues. For example, these aerial inspections could capture, for example, an undeclared trampoline or in-ground swimming pool that was never reported to the insurance company. Those are very high risk items and need to be part of your insurance policy. So sometimes they find issues beyond the roof. But the roof is really important because we look at the roofs as the first line of defense to windstorms. Roofs are a major component of the structure of a home. And if there are roof problems, it could cause serious other issues with the home to the point where the entire house fails from a storm because the roof was weak. However, if the inspection report shows something that you disagree with, typically you will have the opportunity to respond to your insurer and show them otherwise, that you're pointing out something that doesn't exist. Your report is wrong. It could happen with all technology, even with in-person inspections. Reports could be wrong or have information that just does not match up with what you're seeing as the homeowner. So typically you will have an opportunity to respond, and home insurers will not just outright non-renew your policy at the end of the term, because most likely the inspections are taking place either for a renewal of your current policy, or if you're a new customer and you are just starting to have coverage with an insurer. That's another very common time of when these type of aerial inspections are taking place. So if you see something wrong with the report, it's the responsibility of the homeowner to respond and show otherwise, that your report is inaccurate, and here's why.
And with some of these asks, I mean, we're talking about roofs and driveways. I mean, not inexpensive things to repair and replace. Do you find that insurers are giving people feedback wiggle room to kind of make these, because some people are on fixed income, they don't have $70,000 on hand to replace both of those things. What are you
Understood.
hearing from insurers, and how they're working with customers to make these changes?
Well, it runs a very wide gamut in terms of what the reports are finding. For example, say the report from your insurer shows some loose shingles. That typically is very easy to fix, or some missing shingles, versus an entire roof replacement. If there are some missing shingles or loose shingles, the insurance company's not going to tell you you need to replace your roof or we're not covering you. You just might need to make repairs. So it really depends on the scope. But at the same time, if the roof is in such a poor state of condition where it is vulnerable to a major loss, the insurance company is going to say either you replace that roof or we're going to drop your coverage, because the focus here is on writing the best risk. When insurers focus on writing, I'm sorry, let me say it's a little cleaner. When insurers focus on writing the best risk, that benefits all policyholders, because the goal is less claims. Less claims means less cost of insurance for everybody who is covered by that company. So that's really the big focus. The focus isn't to cancel your policy. We know some consumer advocates have complained about that. That's not the focus. The focus is to identify issues, hopefully situations that the homeowner will be able to correct to continue their coverage. But if it detects significant issues, certainly there's a possibility that the insurance company's going to decide your property is too high a risk, it no longer fits our underwriting criteria, and they will non-renew you at the end of your current term. That is possible, certainly.
And just I know that we say this is happening nationwide. I mean, this is happening in North Carolina, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We are seeing, well, yeah, let me just say it broadly. Aerial inspections are common in all regions of the country. It's not just North Carolina. It's not necessarily just coastal states. We are seeing insurers using aerial or drone technology in markets across the country. And the other thing I want to point out is aerial technology is not new. We've seen some of the real estate sites using aerial technology for literally for decades. When they show properties, you look on the site and you see a satellite image of your home. Now there are organizations using street level technology to show what homes look like. Literally, there are vehicles driving around in neighborhoods across the country taking imagery of your home. This is all legal. This is all within the law in every state. And most people have no idea that a vehicle drove by their home and took ground level imagery of their property that now shows up on some real estate website. But this is very common today. In most cases, insurers will notify you that they're doing an inspection. Unfortunately, to be honest, I don't know the state law in North Carolina, so I can't quote it. That's certainly something you could check with the Department of Insurance. But in most cases, insurers give their policyholders the courtesy of notifying them an inspection is going to take place. They will explain the type of inspection, if it's either an in-person inspection or a aerial inspection, and then they will provide a report both to you and to your insurance agent. That is typically the process. I can't guarantee it's happening in all cases, but that is a standard procedure that most insurers are following across the country.
And you touched on a point there, not to get too deep into the legal section of this, but I think there are probably some people who get these reports and see, somebody flew a drone over their house and they're, I mean, pissed, like to just kind of put it bluntly, like, but there's not like there's nothing wrong going on here, right?
Right. It's just something new technology, and it surprises a lot of homeowners. Let me explain, from a legal perspective. As I said before, you have organizations like Zillow that have been using aerial technology for decades since they were created, and it's showing up on their website. You put in your address, you see an aerial image of your home. A homeowner does not own the space above their property. That is available to the world, literally. Satellites, drones, other type of technology. It's, and some people say this is an invasion of privacy. Well, our take is we feel it's more evasive to send an inspector out to your house who wants to climb up on your roof versus using aerial technology. First of all, aerial technology is more efficient, it's more precise, it is safer versus in-person inspections, and it provides much better data than an in-person inspection would. Like I said, we there are still companies, not only, I'm sorry, let me say it this way. There are still insurers that not only send out inspectors to your home to climb on the roof, some inspections include inside your home, especially older homes that want to look at for example, the electronic, plumbing, heating systems, air conditioning systems. They want access to your home. To us, that's very invasive compared to a drone inspection that just captures images above your property and does not interrupt the homeowner. It's a very simple, quick, efficient, effective process to underwrite properties. And we feel it's a much better approach than the old-fashioned way of an inspector coming out to your house and perhaps even asking for entry out to your home to look at systems, which still happens, by the way. I'm not saying that has disappeared, but we're seeing less of that. But it is possible, depending on the age of your home and your insurance company's underwriting process, they may still send an inspector out to your house to look at the exterior and the interior.
Anything else that I'm not touching on that I'm missing major parts of this at all?
No, I think just the big picture is the aerial technology helps insurers write the best risk, reduce claims, and benefits all policyholders by doing that. It is a process to be much more precise on underwriting and really essential today, especially when we're seeing higher loss costs from severe weather and climate events.